And hello everyone, we are back for another tutorial as part of the Herbal Skills Intensive, and this is the herbal syrup tutorial. We're going to be making elderberry syrup here, and I've got all of my ingredients for this laid out. We have about a half cup or so of elderberries. I have about a quarter of a cup of cinnamon chips. You could use cinnamon sticks, just break them up. And here on the left, I have some chopped garlic cloves, about 4 of them, and I have some sliced up ginger, and I have about 9 whole cloves. You could do a better job at chopping that than I did. I'm working one-handed, so there is 4 cups of water in the pot, but I haven't turned the heat on, so that's like cold water. There's no heat on that. We're making a decoction because these are all hard plant materials. We're talking about bark, root, dried berries, that kind of a thing. So these are all hard plant parts. We're making a decoction. If you wanted to add something that was a delicate plant part, make your decoction. When you take it off the heat, add your delicate plant parts in at that point, put a cover on it, and let it steep for another 15-20 minutes or so. So I've got everything in the pot now. I've turned the heat on, and we're going to let this come up to a boil, and then we're going to reduce it down to a simmer, and we're going to let it simmer for 20 minutes. And what that's going to do is it's going to reduce the water in there by half. So 4 cups of liquid's going to end up being about 2 cups. So it's boiling now. So what I'm going to do is turn the heat down. I don't want to turn it down too low, so I got to kind of play with it here and make sure that I bring it down off of that rolling boil and just get it to a nice simmer where there's still steam coming up, because you want the water to evaporate. You want to make this reduce by about half of its volume. So we're getting there, we're getting there. Your stove is going to be, every stove is a little different. I'm setting the timer for 20 minutes, and we're just about there. It's calmer now. It's not quite as rolling as it was just a moment ago. Now, here, if you look along the side of the pan, you can see that it's reducing. I don't know if you can see the difference in color there. That's where the decoction started out. This angle, you can see a little bit better. You can definitely see that line there as the water is reducing. Now, all I'm going to do here to strain this today, because I'm working one-handed, I have a sieve. It's over a mixing bowl, and you could get a little fancier with it if you got use of 2 hands. I have a sprain, so I can't. But I'm just going to pour my stuff through the sieve, reserve the liquid, but you could line that sieve with some cheesecloth and then use your hands to wring it out once it's cooled off. Don't burn yourself. The other thing you could do is you could take that, wring it out as best as you can, and stick it in a potato ricer and use the levers to squeeze it out. So I've poured my liquid. I let it cool just a little bit, and I got just under a half a quart, so almost 2 cups. There's probably a little liquid I could have squeezed out, but again, working one-handed, that's all I got. I'm going to put in the same amount of honey as I have decoction. So it was just under 2 cups, so I'm going to add just under 2 cups of honey. Now what I did was, I'm sorry about the wrist there, like I said, I'm working one-handed, so what I did was I let the liquid cool down a little bit, because I have raw honey and I don't want to cook the enzymes in it. So I did take a quick temperature reading, and it's about 100 degrees or so. So it's nice and warm, but it's not going to kill the enzymes. And that warmth is going to help you incorporate your decoction and your honey. It's going to help you mix them together, just by virtue of the fact that heat will help honey become less viscous, less thick. It'll become thinner, it'll be easier to stir. Now, both of these bottles have a little of crystallized honey in them, but my kitchen is so warm today, even that has softened up, so I might add just a little bit of that in there. Now, normally this 1-to-1 ratio, let's say, 2 cups of decoction and 2 cups of honey, or 1 cup of decoction and 1 cup of honey, or whatever you're using as a sweetener. To me, it's way too thin. I don't like it. It's not what I'm used to. It's not what most people are used to when they go to the drugstore and buy cough syrup. Cough syrup is, it's much thicker, and people expect a syrup to be thicker. In this case, not so much. It is runny, it's watery, and that can be a consideration if you are trying to get it into the mouths of little children who are wiggling and whatnot and don't know exactly what you're doing there, sticking the spoon in their mouth. However, I put a bunch of tips and tricks in the course unit as to how you can make these syrups thicker. And so please feel free to experiment with that as you need. However, this particular syrup is destined for the next tutorial where we make some gummies from this. So I really don't mind the fact that it's thinner here. So let me see if I can't get this mixed in, and then I want to show you how thin and watery this is on its own. And this is your typical ratio that you'll find in most recipes for an herbal syrup. So, I mean, if you don't mind it being a little watery, that's fine. But I prefer my syrups to be thicker. But again, these are going to gummies, so this is perfectly fine here. Yeah, let me just show you it dripping. So it's clearly thicker than water, but it's kind of runny. So but that's all there is to making herbal syrups, and check out my tips and other information in the course on how to make it thicker as well as stronger.